thing that students sometimes get confused about is what is an elastic or an inelastic demand curve, and the answer is there's actually no such thing, because what you'll find is that if you take a demand line, then actually elasticity varies along its whole length. And the reason for that is it's not the slope of the demand line that determines elasticity, it's the percentage changes in demand and price. So let's take this as an example. Let's suppose that's £10, that's 8, 6. I'll try and keep this roughly to scale for 2. And let's suppose that's 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. So up here, price, if we go from A to B, price falls from £10 to £8. That's a 20% fall in price. As a result, demand rises from 10 to 20. That's a 100% rise in demand. So PED is -5. That's very elastic. Demand changes 5 times as much as price does. If we look down the bottom, though, we get a very different story. If you look down the bottom, then down here, price changes by £2 again. They change by £2, they change by £2 here. But this time, it's £2 out of 4. So that is a 50% change in price. If price goes from 4 to 2, then it's fallen by half. It's a 50% fall in price. And demand, as we move from point C to point D, demand rises from 40 to 50. Well, 40 to 50 has gone up by 10 out of 40. That's only a 25% change in price, demand. So price has fallen by 50%, demand has risen by 25%, so price elastic demand is only minus 0.5. So what we discover is that all the way along a demand curve, demand line, elasticity is actually different. So there's no such thing as an elastic or an inelastic demand line. What you'll find is that along any straight line demand function, if you find the midpoint, it's about there, up in the top bit, demand is price elastic. So PED is between -1 and -infinity. Down in the bottom half, demand is price inelastic. So that's 0 to -1. At the midpoint there, PED is equal to -1, so it's unitary. So if you want to illustrate an elastic or inelastic situation, you've got to be just slightly careful. You can't draw that, because it's both elastic and inelastic. What you want to do is focus in on the bit of the demand curve that you actually want. So this bit, that is elastic. And the reason it's elastic is not, well, students tend to think it's because of its slope, but in reality it's because most of the demand line is over there, and that's the inelastic bit. For an inelastic one, again, we want to focus on the bottom bit. So that's an inelastic demand line, because most of the demand line is up there. So you need to be able to explain why it is that along a downward sloping demand line, price elasticity demand can change. And using numerical examples is the best way of doing that. There are, of course, a couple of demand lines where elasticity doesn't change. So if we take this example here, then what we're saying, that demand line, it doesn't matter how high price gets, demand always stays the same. So people sometimes say that's like the demand for heart transplants or something. If you're about to die, then however high price is, you're willing to pay it. In that case, price elasticity demand is always 0, because any change, the formula is the percentage change in demand divided by the percentage change in price. But what we know is that any change in price, it doesn't matter. 100% change in price, 200% change in price, doesn't matter. There's no change in demand. And 0 divided by anything is 0. The other extreme version is some situation like this, where imagine that you're selling fruit at as a local market, and you're charging 50 pence per apple or something. But also there are lots of other people all selling apples. If you were to increase your price to 51p, probably nobody would buy from you. They'd just go and buy from all your competitors, and demand would fall immediately to 0. So any increase in price above 50p means that there's no demand at all. So effectively, demand line is horizontal because any increase in price leads to demand to fall straight away to 0. And in that case, we say that price elasticity demand is infinity. But if it's a downward sloping straight line demand line, then elasticity varies along its length. Up at the top, demand is price elastic. Down at the bottom, demand is price inelastic. And in the middle, price elastic demand is equal to 1 or unitary.